Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first council meeting of the new year, Wednesday, January the 25th. The first item on the agenda, as always, is a call to order, and please stand for our national anthem. Thank you very much. And the next item on our agenda today is a public forum, and we have one person signed up, Diarmid Salvadori of the Richmond Hill Soccer Club, regarding a grant awarded by the Ontario Trillium Foundation. So Diarmid, it's always good to see you. Welcome to 2023 and to our council chambers.
Thank you, Mayor West. Flip to the next slide, please. Mayor West, members of council and staff, my name is Diarmid Salvadori. I'm the president of the Richmond Hill Soccer Club. A year ago, I presented in support of the Parks, Recreation and Culture Plan. And today I have some good news that I wish to share on behalf of the Richmond Hill Soccer Club. I have a short presentation and will be happy to take questions at the end. Next slide, please. For those of you who are not aware, the Richmond Hill Soccer Club is the largest not-for-profit organization in the city and one of the largest in York Region. This year, although we're not 150 years old, we are 55 years young. We provide a range of programming for children through to seniors, indoor and outdoor programs, and recreational programs right through to high performance. I'm also pleased to report that we are seeing an increase of over 10% in registrations compared to pre-COVID numbers, proving that there is some normalcy returning to youth activities in particular, but also due to the club's effort in engaging with the community and getting players back on the field. Next slide, please. Our vision speaks to how we care about our players and community. Love the game, develop the person, excel in all we do. We've been recognized for our excellence in innovation and programming by our governing bodies, Ontario Soccer and the Canadian Soccer Association. And we work with local schools and other non-for-profit organizations to provide opportunities for all residents to play the beautiful game. We have quite a cultural diversity, and inclusiveness is one of the things that we are really happy to support, and very proud of the efforts that we've made as an organization in that area. Next slide, please. The club has a very positive relationship with city staff, and we work cooperatively to develop and improve facilities and programs. We're major users of facilities. In addition to fields, we also use community center space and gyms for meetings, education and training programs for a range of topics, including mental health, nutrition, and development of match officials and coaches. We work together with the town to partner with the camp programs, the city camp programs, And that's a mutually beneficial relationship whereby the city provides the administrative support and we provide qualified coaching. I would also like to recognize the city for their efforts in the reconstruction of the Richmond Green West Field last summer, which replaced the aging artificial turf surface. And following up on that exercise, next slide, please. Following up on the field upgrade, the club applied for an Ontario Trillium capital grant in order to upgrade the amenities at both fields at Richmond Green. So I'm very pleased to report that we received $112,000 in order to provide new goals and benches at both fields. In total, we'll be purchasing main goals for both the fields, set of movable goals for fields, training goals, and new covers for the benches at both fields. The club is extremely proud of the success of this initiative and the benefits that will bring not only to our players, but to all those who play and use the Richmond Green fields. It's just another example of how the club has been proactive in rebounding from the pandemic and advocating for improvements that benefit the whole community. Next slide, please. We would also like to thank the Parks and Rec Department for their ongoing support and efforts to help us provide the best opportunities for all residents. We look forward to seeing the construction of the new indoor facility outlined in the recreation plan, and we'll continue to work hard for our customers and community to provide a healthy and active environment for all to enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Salvadori. This is great news. And as always, you and your organization bring so much to our community and benefit so many kids and young people in our community as well. And it's great news. I see in the last slide, thank you to our two MPPs, Daisy and Michael Parse, I presume, for helping with the Trillium grant. That's excellent. So thanks so much. With that, we'll move on to council announcements. Councillor Silovitz first, Councillor Chan next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. International Holocaust Remembrance Day, or the International Day in Memory of the Victims of the Holocaust, is an annual international memorial day held every year on the 27th of January, this coming Friday, that commemorates the victims of the Holocaust, which resulted in the murder of 6 million Jews, men, women, children, and babies, 1/3 of the entire Jewish population at the time, along with millions of other identifiable minorities between 1933 and 1945 by Nazi Germany, in an attempt to implement their final solution to the Jewish question, a failed attempt by a murderous dictator and regime to annihilate an entire cultural and religious populace. The 27th of January was chosen to commemorate the date when the Auschwitz concentration camp was liberated by the Russian Red Army in 1945. With the rise in anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, Asian phobia, gender phobia, and all the other human manufactured phobias representing nothing but intolerance and hatred, remembering and memorializing one of the worst results of homicidal, cultural, and religion-based hatred and intolerance, this day of global recognition has never been more important or on topic. While we remember the 6 million Jews who were persecuted and brutally murdered in Hitler's death camps and ghettos, and the 5 million other identifiable souls who perished in the Nazi concentration camps and killing fields of the Second World War, we also need to remember and memorialize all the other horrific human manufactured atrocities through the millennia. We should also take this opportunity to recognize ongoing and continuing global hatred, oppression and intolerance, war and climate-related tragedies, all of which result in immeasurable human loss. And I specifically name in this context the atrocities ongoing in Ukraine and Iran. By memorializing the unspeakable horrors of the Holocaust, we are reminded to do everything possible all year long to rid the world of intolerance, oppression, bigotry, and racism. For all those lost to the genocidal madness of the Holocaust, may their memories forever be a blessing. Never again. And to all those who celebrate Lunar New Year, Robbie Burns Day, and embrace the Bell Let's Talk Mental Health Initiative today, let's embrace what it is that makes us human. Our compassion, our empathy, our love, and our humanity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Regional Councillor Chan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor said earlier, today is January 25th, but actually the first council meeting in the year 2023. Happy New Year to all. And with my council members' indulgence, if I may say a few words in Chinese, 恭喜发财，新年大吉，恭喜发财，兔年大吉。And also is the year for the Chinese community celebrating the year of rabbit, and for the Vietnamese community is the year of the cat, and also the Korean community, which is an increasing number of residents in Richmond Hill based on the census 2021 to each one of our Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese community. Happy New Year. And in fact, that January 27, also in Richmond Hill, in last year, we adopted a motion to have January 27 this Friday as Family Literacy Day. So I understand there are different branches of the library would have events to help promote family literacy, which is important. And thank you for the Richmond Soccer Club that dare to dream and, you know, like really help to promote the literacy. And in fact, this year, I understand is also really trying to promote the family literacy in our diverse communities. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for me the opportunity to offer New Year in a language some of us would understand. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Councillor Sri.
Thank you so much for you, Mr. Chair, to all the residents here. So, and this year is our Chinese 2023 rapid year. So here I take the chance to say Happy New Year to all the residents here from Chinese community. And the New Year's across the entire Chinese history around 2,000 to 3,000 years. So every year we celebrate using a different method across the Chinese community. So I'll take the chance to say 恭喜发财 and 身体健康 for all the residents in Richmond Hill from Chinese community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I've got a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Councillor Silovitz, for those words. It was very well said, and I think it's very important that we acknowledge the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So thank you so much for all of that. I also would like to just mention today is Bell Let's Talk Day. And as many of you know, because you've probably seen social media and media posts about that, I think, you know, it's an important day to stop and really think about the importance of mental health. And I know in the last number of years, we've been increasing that awareness and the removal of any stigma that's attached to mental health. But I think over the pandemic, that's accelerated. And I think we still have a long way to go. There are people suffering from mental health issues that really could be getting help, but maybe aren't because of the stigma. And when you really think about it, mental health is health. I mean, it's the same in many ways of all the different aspects of health that we have. So I think, you know, we really need to be talking about that, and Bell Let's Talk Day is one of the opportunities that we have to raise awareness and think about how we can help to stop the stigma. I would also thank to the couple of councillors that had mentioned the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year. This is a great occasion, a huge amount of celebration that's going to be happening in the next a little while. And we all in Richmond Hill are so fortunate to have so many great celebrations that happen in our community. And I truly believe We can probably find a reason to celebrate it almost any day of the year. And over the next little while, it will be definitely filled with great celebrations for Lunar New Year. So thank you to our community for bringing that to all of us to share in those celebrations. And finally, I'd just like to wrap it up by saying this morning, many of us, all of us on council and many of us from staff and the community gathered in the quite cold weather outside the Richmond Hill offices here on Beaver Creek to kick off the Canada 150 celebrations. I'm not sure whether we can see this on the screen, but we have a Canada 150 flag here in council chambers, and we're going to start seeing Canada 150 flags over, throughout the community starting momentarily. So, if I say Canada 150 one more time, I'm so conditioned to say Canada 150, and I'm so sorry. I meant Richmond Hill 150, but thank you everybody for in unison pointing that out to the mayor who just screwed up. Richmond Hill 150. I will get that before the end of the year, I promise. Anyway, we have a proud history in Richmond Hill, as we do in Canada, but especially in Richmond Hill. I thank everybody for partaking in that kickoff celebration this morning outside the offices. And as I said, you will be seeing more Richmond Hill 150 flags and different memorabilia throughout the community. And I really hope this is an opportunity for our community to stand together and celebrate what we have in common, which is our home community of Richmond Hill. So happy Richmond Hill 150, and we will go from there. So thanks, everybody. And the next item on the agenda is introduction of emergency and time-sensitive matters. Okay, seeing none, we have adoption of the agenda. I have been informed that Mr. Jim Katsopoulos from JKO Planning, who's the agent for the applicant on item 13.2, is a little late in registering as a delegation, but would like to speak. And if that's okay with everybody, then we will add him to the agenda. Okay, seeing no problems with that. So number 6 is disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general. All right, well, let's do that then. That's a great idea. Let's have a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Chan and Councillor Liu. Maybe I should go out and come back in again. We reset the day. Okay, thank you. All in favor of that motion? Okay, thanks very much. That passes. So disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Councillor Silvitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have a disclosure, and it is for item 17.1D. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That's noted.
Because I have a pecuniary interest therein. Okay.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. It's the general nature of that.
General nature
and
thereof.
the general nature of the pecuniary interest, please.
General nature of the pecuniary interest. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Is that okay?
No. If I might suggest, it would be sufficient in this case to say that you are a party to the matter.
I am a party to the matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so item number 7 is adoption of previous council minutes. We have special council education and training meeting on November 29th, special council education and training meeting on December the 1st, and council meeting on December the 7th, and council public meeting on December the 7th. I think we can adopt those all as a package if that's okay with everybody. Moved by Councillor Silvitz, seconded by Councillor Tree. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 8, identification of items requiring separate discussion. So we have item 13.2 separated because we have delegations, and the member motions will be automatically separated. And I believe, according to Mr. Clerk, we can adopt all of the bylaws on consent at this time if we wish. So is there any other items that we would like separated for discussion? Okay, seeing none. So can I get a motion to adopt the remainder of the items? Councillor Silvitz, Councillor Davidson, including the bylaws, yes. Right? Movers and seconders, right? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Okay, so, sorry, Councillor Tree. Yep.
Can I put out the 13.2?
Yeah, it's already pulled.
Good.
Yeah, because there's delegation, so it's automatically pulled. So what we have in front of us then, Mr. Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong, because that could happen. The special counsel, okay, those are already taken care of the previous minutes. We've got 13.1 is passed on consent. 13.3 is passed on consent. The correspondence 13.4 and 13.5 is passed on consent. We'll hold 13.2, 14.1, 14.2, and 14.3, which are member motions, and all of the bylaws have then passed on consent. Okay, so we'll move forward then. Okay, public hearings, we have none. Presentations, we have none. So we have delegations, we have 3 plus Mr. Kotsopoulos. So we'll start with delegation 12.1, Guy Molinaro from 8 Colesbrook. So Mr. Molinaro, I presume you are joining us online. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you Mr. Molinaro? Okay, so you're here to speak on his behalf? Yes, I think, well, unless there's any objection to that, I don't believe there should be. So go ahead, sir. We'll need you just come on up to the microphone and state your name. Before you start, you've got 5 minutes to address council. You'll hear a ding at 4 minutes, which means you have 1 more minute to go, and then a ding at the end when your time is up.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, so can you state your name and address for the record?
Okay. My name is Dishu. I'm the resident of 10 Coast Brook Road, Richmond Hill. And good morning, everyone. As a 2-year-long resident in Richmond Hill, this is my first time being here in the city of Richmond Hill municipal offices. And happy Lunar New Year to you all. Yeah. Just like anyone in the room, we all expect a prosperous future in Richmond Hill and a continuous strong growth in its economy and in industry. Same to the communities that we are living in. That's why I'm here, not to be against the proposal of building up a townhouse dwellings in the area, but to request a more considerable and reasonable plan instead. Yeah. As I checked on the city website, many neighbors who have walked through the process and know the entire story has expressed their concerns back in February 2019. The concerns mainly about the high density of dwellings, increase the traffic flow, which may cause the safety issues, etc. Because I was communicated very most recently, like just this Sunday, I got this information. So I rushed into the city website to take a look, and I found that the map 6, the proposed site plan, there's only one entrance to the 9 townhouses and 4 semi townhouses, which makes me think, what if there's any, accidents, in the area, the traffic will be easily blocked there, and also thinking that if there's only one, entrance or exit to the dwellings there, there would be big impact to the traffic on the Coast Brook Road. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So, and among the communications with my neighbors, and they all told me that they were concerned about this high density of the dwellings there, and they were complaining about their poor communications, lack of transparency, and also the no emails or mails, in advance to communicate this important decision point today, as of today. So what I'm proposing here is, firstly, for the planner or the builder to organize a more transparent meeting within the neighbors, at least, within, 800 yards within the dwellings, Yeah. Secondly, a more considerable thoughtful plan to accommodate a reasonable amount of dwellings within the area. So thank you for your time. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for coming on your neighbor's behalf. You can have a seat. The next item is 12.2, Mr. Atul Dave from 12 Colesbrook regarding the same item 13.2.
Hi,
You are. Welcome, sir. You've got
good
5
morning.
minutes to address council.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and council member. Happy New Year to all. I reside at the Colesbrook number 17, which is just adjacent to the site, which is 15 Colesbrook Road. And as one of my neighbor over here has explained the concern, I just wanted to highlight few things, that the size of the lot, which is right now basically requested to have the total number of townhouses around 17 townhouses plus the semi-detached house is quite a congested and quite a large number of houses considering the size of the lot. Also, as one of my neighbor has explained, this road has only one outlet, and that is towards the Gamble Road. And considering the number of houses, number of cars in those residents, it can create a traffic hazard. Also wanted to highlight one of the things, that there is only one school in the neighborhood, and having this many number of houses, especially with probably the semi-detached house and the townhouses, we might have residents, people who might have a small children, and they might find it difficult to get appropriate school nearby. One of the great things one of my neighbor has explained is about the big tree at the site. It is such a lovely tree, huge tree. Many of the neighbor in the neighborhood look at that tree and it's like a meditation for them. They enjoy that green tree, that big size tree from their window of their houses. And when we are going to demolish this and trying to construct a new thing, these are the things which will affect the neighbors, the mental health also. And especially the day like today, when we are talking about the mental health, these are the very important thing, to have a more green area, have a big tree like this can really stress reliever for many of the neighbors in the neighborhood. So definitely in this situation, it will be worthwhile having taking an opinion from all the neighbors, considering their input and making any decision about further development in this area. Thank you very much. I conclude my talk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dave. Appreciate that you taking the time to join us today. Okay, then the next item on the agenda is yes, I know. Yep, we've got Yusheng Shen is the next one from 55 Froud Drive.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Ms. Shen.
Yes.
You've got 5 minutes to address council. Welcome to seeing us virtually.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everyone. I still remember 3 years ago, I ever attended the public hearing meetings, but it's before the COVID. Yeah, and during the meeting, I expressed my concerns toward this building plan, and my neighbors also talked a lot for their opinions and their concerns and their worries. But after that meeting, I didn't see any changes on this planning. To be honest, I feel disappointed. And this plan, these buildings, once it built, it will affect our home, our family, and our daily lives. So I don't know, but I didn't see any changes at this plan. So I doubt if our opinions have been taken into serious considerations, because it truly affects our lives a lot. And My another point is these days when I work out, I saw lots of neighbors changed. Some moved out and some moved in. So there are lots of new ones, and they have no idea about what's going on, especially toward this planning, these buildings. And they even did not get any information of this meeting. So they do not know there's a public hearing meeting. So they do not know what should they do and when will it happen. So I think maybe we should give at least some of them another chance to express their ideas, because lots of things changed during these years, especially this COVID 3 years. So they do not know what will be coming very soon. And so I just hope that there's a true care for our community and for our neighbors. This plan, this building design can show the respect for the whole community's ideas, opinions, and can take our concerns into the serious considerations, and can give these people, these newcomers, there's some opportunities to hear what's going on and to express what's their ideas. And besides, just as just mentioned, that beautiful tree, it's I just want to say it's also part of my daily life. It's very important. For my spiritual peaceful mind, it's very important. So to me, it's not just any tree that can be cut down and into some wood for firewood. No, it's not. So I hope that our opinions can be taken into considerations, and we can have another chance, and maybe more people, more communities, more neighbors, especially the new neighbors, can get the ideas what is going on and that can express their ideas for maybe another public hearing meeting. Thank you.
You still have another minute, Ms. Chen, if you want. That was just a warning.
Okay, thank you. I think I've finished. That's all my.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming, and that we appreciate you taking the time to express your concerns. Okay, so the last delegation that we have is Mr. Katsopoulos that we added. So Mr. Katsopoulos, if you want to come up and address council, you've got 5 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council, city staff. Happy New Year, happy Lunar New Year. Jim Katsopoulos, 27 Field Flower Crescent in the great city of Richmond Hill. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Just some comments and some clarifications from what we've heard, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, this application was submitted in 2018. And we are now going into year 5 with this application. And Mr. Chair, throughout that time frame, I am honored and glad to say that myself, and if people that know me, this is the way I operate, myself along with the owner that's with me today, have been diligently working with city staff in order to get to this point. And we continue to do that as we get very close to finalizing our site plan. So, Mr. Chair, at the public hearing in February of 2019, we heard comments from City Council, we heard comments from city staff, and we heard a couple comments from the neighborhood. And upon those comments, Mr. Chair, we came back with a revised application. We started off in 2018 with 19 townhouses. However, Mr. Chair, in working diligently with city staff, hearing the comments, we revised the application in its current form by eliminating 2 townhouses. Now we have the 4 semis and the 13 townhouses for a total of 17 units. Mr. Chair, that would also help with the transitioning from Gamble into the low density neighborhood. A couple other important aspects about this application. The property is located at the intersection of an arterial road and a major collector. And so in terms of any potential traffic infiltration, sir, based on our analysis and city staff, there is no opportunity to infiltrate into the neighborhood, given this primary location at the intersection of an arterial and a collector. Mr. Chair, we've also worked diligently with staff to talk about the urban design aspects. The current development in its current form is providing for standard design and standard dwelling sizes and heights. So that's also an important aspect, Mr. Chair. And if you look at the contextual aspects of this neighborhood, Mr. Chair, which is yet another prominent issue that has to be looked at, we have existing medium density to the west, we have existing medium density to the east, and we also have existing medium density on the north side of Gamble, directly opposite the site. So, Mr. Chair, again, I wanted to reemphasize, we continue to work diligently with city staff to continue working on any outstanding issues, and we are almost near the end of the long, I guess, period of processing to get to our site plan approval, and we continue to work with city staff to do that. So, Mr. Chair, for those reasons, we feel it is appropriate for City Council to render a positive decision to our zoning and draft plan of subdivision components, and we'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Mr. Katsopoulos, for coming. So we have exhausted our speakers list. So at this point in time, we'll move to agenda item 13.2, which is the request for approval for zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for 15 Colesbrook. So this is in Ward 4. So I'll go first to the ward councillor, Councillor Tree. And so, Councillor, if you could let us know at some point in your speaking time whether you're willing to move this staff recommendation or some other recommendation.
Okay, sure. I'll try to finish up in the time. So thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair to our staff, can you please bring this report, the fourth report on the page 7? I want to show it because there are a lot of the details on this page. So its report is SPL 23.03 request for approval.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
I apologize, Councillor. We have never put up reports on the screen and aren't set up to do so.
Okay. Sure.
If you could just maybe explain what's
on this report, they have a lot of details regarding the proposed RM1 zonings, also proposed semi, and also proposed townhouse. You can see from this chart, and there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, around 10, 30 items here. And only few of them are compliant with our zone. As I remember, in our Colesbrook areas, this is really the residential low zonings. We have the RM1 zoning bylaw, and now we bump or promote to the RM1. RM1 is quite, already quite densities. Compared with this chart, it looks like we have modified our by zone for the RM1, become more densities. Look at the height of the proposals. And normally is around 10.5 to 10.6 meters high. Yeah, it's under our maximum heights requirement, but look at neighborhood. We don't have such high buildings for entire street at all. Also look at Colesbrook. We have low densities across entire Colesbrook from the east side until the west side, entire street. So this really, if I remember or correct, this density is around 0.9, so which is quite high in the low zone or low density area as well. And my second concern, or not a concern, is regarding to the lots. If you look at numbers here, so we modify RM1 lot, and the front yard and the corner lots, the lot areas are really, really tiny. So based on the feedback and based on the details list here, personally, I think we need work with our neighbors, work with the residents, go back to city planners and also our builders to rethink about it. What is the proposal should be meet our residents' requirement, also our city's development as well. Thanks.
Okay, so you're not going to be moving the recommendation then?
Oh, I'm not going to move. I will defer back to maybe city staff and look at the requirement from residents and also build up a new plans for the with the builder. Thanks.
Okay, we don't have a motion on the floor at the moment. Then we need somebody to move the staff recommendation or something. Regional Councillor DiPaolo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be happy to remove the recommendations in the staff report. As was said, it's been a long time. There's been a lot of accommodations made to the residents in the area, and there's been a lot of effort working with our town staff to modify this proposal. But the main thing is, and the main reason our staff's recommending, and the main reason I want to move this is just given the location and the precedent in the area, there just isn't justification for this council to refuse it, and we would be in a very difficult position on appeal if we weren't going forward today. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor, staff recommendation. We need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Silovitz, you want to speak to that?
Sure, just briefly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second this. I understand 100% the concerns of all the residents. And however, and your wonderful words, Councillor Tree, thank you. They're all valid, but they're not legitimate. So that's the problem. Because of the recommendation to be approved by staff, and because all the comments by the different departments in the city and the region of York are positive, this would be indefensible in front of the Ontario Land Tribunal should we deny this. Therefore, it's one of those applications that, while it's of great consternation to the local residents, it is without any question something that is applicable legitimately for this particular area, specifically because of its location and what is located around it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? Councillor Davidson. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Councillor Chan, you had your hand up first, so go ahead, and Councillor Davidson's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate what the applicant's plan has been saying. This has been work in progress since 2018. So I understand that. And there has been reduction of number of units. I think all the delegates have raised some issues of concern. And I gather it's important for the applicant to demonstrate that being responsive to it. And along that path, I'd like to, through you, Mr. Mayor, ask questions. Perhaps staff can help me understand. On page 8 of the staff report, actually this is recommending approval, is talking about those 5-meter setback, which a little bit less than what I understand may be required. And the staff in the report say opportunities to increase setbacks. So through Mr. Chair, can staff help me understand opportunities to increase, but if they don't increase it, that also acceptable? Is that what that meant? Through Mr. Chair. On page 8, probably middle of the page.
I think it's like the second last paragraph. Commissioner Kwan, when you, I'll direct that your way.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll probably defer to planning staff to get into the details, but generally speaking, the project complies with all of the standards that we now employ throughout the city. I will note there was an observation about the traditional RM1 zoning under bylaw 19087. Of course, being a bylaw of that vintage 87, a lot of things have changed in terms of performance standards and the form of development that we now have. There's also, I would note, generally speaking, that the standards are tailored to fit the design of the site, not necessarily to be fully compliant with every standard to the letter. We're trying to meet the spirit of the design and trying to facilitate some flexibility as well as we move forward into the site plan process. But if there's a more detail that you require, I'll redirect to planning staff to perhaps assist.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Actually, you mentioned about site plan. Maybe in that case, I turn my attention to site plan, proposed site plan, of course. And I think a concern has been raised by at least one delegate about, because there's only one point of going in and out of this area. Is that also usually that would be some places to identify a kind of emergency place for the additional point of access, maybe not by vehicles, but I'm looking at the proposed site plan. If it can be any help from staff, Mr. Chair, would that such a kind of emergency kind of access point would be in the north side of the townhouse block? Through you, Mr. Chair, I just try to identify where about it is, and I expect that there will be one. Correct.
Okay, Mr. Commissioner.
To you, Mr. Mayor, typically the site is, or sorry, the capacity of the site does not meet the threshold for having alternate vehicular access, but certainly the fire department is satisfied that there is sufficient access for vehicles or men or staff to attend to any emergency on the site. There are multiple points of access, obviously, between the units for access to fire hydrants and other emergency services or service laneways to the site. But from a pure vehicular standpoint, it doesn't actually meet a threshold for warranting a second access to the site.
Thank you. I know site plan is another step along the way. However, since site plan as proposed is also being here, perhaps it's not so much about a question, but I would say when I'm looking at site plan, proposed site plan here, I noted that the proposed snow storage area is at the really far end, and I noted that the applicant is nodding. We are in Canada, and depending on the winter, that it's hard to predict how much snow we might get. Although it's not particularly germane to today's decision on recommended for approval for this stage, but I would really request the applicant, if it's being the application approved today as proposed, recommended, that really seriously look at the storage area is to assess the capacity or the area in which that might be accommodating, because you're also just right next door to existing residential area. So there's something to watch. But I do appreciate the efforts of the applicant. So continue to demonstrate, you hear and listen to the concerns of the residents to the extent that you can accommodate. And in particular, like those things have to be looked at the site plan application in terms of, I hate to say the word snow, which will be coming soon. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank the residents that came. I think these infill projects where they put a whole different street with townhouses in the middle of an existing neighborhood are really difficult to like if you already live there, because in your mind, I'm sure it doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood, and people love the trees. And I agree with you. But as a new councillor, I know my job is to look at what is the criteria that the Province of Ontario Planning Act lays out. And it's our job to assess if this plan fits that. And it's not because we didn't hear you or we don't like trees, or that it wouldn't be nice if every neighborhood could sort of stay the same and we grow as well. But I just want to thank you for taking the time. I heard you. It's not that we don't agree or disagree. Our job is to measure the plan against the criteria set out. So thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all my colleagues for their comments. There's certainly a lot to say there about conforming to official plans. And the report certainly speaks to that as well, about how it may conform. But that doesn't necessarily mean that staff support. They're just telling us that, you know, this conforms with certain things that we're seeing. So I do have a few questions that I'd like to raise here. And in the report, it talks about the applicant providing a traffic management plan that they have reviewed. But the question really comes down to, and I believe a number of residents have asked this, was an actual study done? So that's my first question.
Commissioner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, appropriate traffic studies have been submitted, reviewed by our engineering staff, and they have no issues further issues at this point. Is there specific detail required? I can have the director of engineering respond.
Would you like more clarity from Mr. Chervesky, Mr. Thompson?
So I guess my question was, are we going by the traffic management plan that was provided by the applicant, or did we get an independent traffic study that we actually reviewed?
Mr. Mayor, all reports submitted by an applicant are reviewed either in-house or we would contract it out. But in this particular case, the matter was fully reviewed by in-house engineering staff, and they have no further issues at this point.
Okay, I'll move on. A number of residents have actually indicated that they did not receive notification of the current application coming forward. And I know that we certainly have a certain protocol that we follow in that regard. I was just wondering if somebody could speak to that and just indicate how this was circulated and when.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll just give a high-level outline of the standard procedures for notification. As everybody is aware, the notice went out for a public hearing, and that was clearly identified that there were a number of residents who participated in that process. Staff reviewed those comments and identified our reply to those comments, and the applicant took those to heart in the redesign of his project. Furthermore, there are notice signs on the property as required by the city, and they remain in place for the duration of the application. And then in preparation for this meeting, courtesy notices are sent out by the clerk in advance of the meeting, albeit I do appreciate that there's a concern about the timeliness of those, but of course they have to dovetail with the actual scheduling of the item. So there's a very small window in order to provide those courtesy notices.
Through you, the chair, thank you for that. So just for my own clarification, it appears that we did all the things that we typically do in terms of circulation. So if somebody all of a sudden says they only received 24 hours ago, we don't know why that had actually occurred. But everything that we did was within the procedures that we've set out. Am I correct in that? Okay, thank you. I noticed one of the things that I'm reading in here, and I know that things are conforming with the official plans and so forth, but staff did make specific notice that developments are or should respect the character of the neighborhood with respect to a number of distinguishing features. And one of those distinguishing features outlined was dwelling types of nearby residential properties. And when I'm looking at all the nearby properties, even in the aerial photograph that was provided in map 1, all I see are single detached homes in that entire scenario here. And now all of a sudden we're looking at semi-detached and townhouses. So when I'm looking at a dwelling type, I don't actually see one that, you know, is respecting the character of the existing neighborhood around there. So that's the lens that I'm looking through. I'm sure it's the same lens that a number of the other people are looking through that live in the area, despite the fact, you know, that we're talking about how things fit with the official plan. There are a number of things that people will look through a different lens. And, you know, I'm with the residents on this one. I look through the same lens that they're looking through. I have no doubt that this property is suitable for redevelopment. I agree with the comments made by one of the residents that I believe there was a mistake made, or there was no mistake made when the neighborhood was originally zoned. I do need to ask one question about, there's something in the report here that said a possibility of an extension to Frood, and I'd like to get a little bit more information on that if I could.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. In the original design of the subdivision, there were access points provided from the south to facilitate future development to the north. I also note that this particular redesign of this site has been done in a way which can accommodate an east-west connection as well. So we have, through the design of the original subdivision, future-proofed the site or the neighborhood for future development, owing to the fact that we know that additional access to Gamble Road would not be permitted by the region. So internal access has been facilitated and accommodated in all the designs going forward.
Okay, I think I understand where you're coming from. And so that would, you know, no lands have actually been secured that would be in a position to actually accommodate that at this point. So, okay. If this is going to go forward, then there's a couple of things that I want to note. And one is on page 6, paragraph 4. It's noted that, okay, my apologies.
Do you want to go for a second round?
Sure, I'll wait for the second round.
Let's do that if you wouldn't mind. Okay,
Sure.
That's great. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak on a first round? Okay, I'll make a couple of comments. You know, I want to be clear to the residents, and I think I probably spoke to some of them when this was in 2018 when I was the ward councillor in that area, and I vaguely remember that the council public meeting that we had at that time. There were a couple of members of the public that showed up and expressed some concerns. You know, there's no question that I understand all of the things that have been said by the residents. The change that this application represents in that neighborhood is definitely significant, because you know, what's there now is not anywhere close to what would be there under this proposed application. And all of the concerns that they have and the things that they're worried about are totally valid. I totally understand that. But I guess, you know, the problem that we run into here is that this is on an arterial road. And it's pretty clear from the staff report that, you know, this type of development, the specifics notwithstanding, are what is to be expected on Gamble. If you look to the east, west, and the north, there are similar sites that are up and down Gamble. And that's part of our official plan is to see intensification to whatever degree is acceptable along arterial roads. And this would be an example of that type of development. Now, the details, I mean, that can be debated. So it does conform to our official plan. For the most part, I think when you read the staff report, says that it does conform to a large degree to our zoning, but the point was made that the zoning that is currently there and the standards are from 1987, and that the world has changed significantly since that time, with what's normal now and expected. The province has brought down this dictate that we're to build a lot of houses. I think the number is 1.5 million. Whether we'll get there in 10 years, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it's clear that there is, a need for building more houses. And with all the changes in Bill 109 and Bill 23 and so on, this is the expectation that we're going to, unfortunately, in some cases, see in Richmond Hill. I share the concerns that have been said today, but I think, and Councillor DePaulo said this well, that the reality is that if we did not accept this proposal and it was appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, I don't think we would really have a case there, and that would be problematic. So. Anyway, I shout out to Councillor Davidson. I appreciated your comments, Councillor, that, I get where the community is coming from here, and I'm very empathetic towards that. But unfortunately, given the positive recommendation and the work that's been done on this file since it was proposed in 2018, I think, we're in a position where if we don't accept this, we will probably end up having a hard time at OLT. So those would be my comments at this time. And Councillor Thompson, you had said you wanted a second round to continue. Go ahead.
Yes. So through you, Mr. Mayor, if this application is going to go forward, there's still something that I want to get actually clear in the application first, or the staff report. And that's on page 6 in the 4th paragraph. It's talking about, well, I'll just read the second line. It says, in this regard, the applicant has submitted a natural heritage evaluation that identifies that proposed development does not meet the landform conservation criteria outlined in the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan technical papers. But then the following sentence says, therefore, the proposed development is in keeping with the landform conservation area policies. So I'm thinking there's an error here. Would I be correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I apologize, but I've just been advised by staff that there is a typo. So the report conformity statement is in compliance, and staff support that analysis.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So if it does go forward, I'm looking at Appendix C, which would outline the various conditions, and I'm looking at condition 4. The second sentence of condition 4, it says, the owner shall, that all street names shall, I think there's another word missing here. I'm guessing it should be the owner shall ensure that all street names shall be identified to the satisfaction. Could I just...
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Thompson has a very sharp eye. I will agree with that comment.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do appreciate the comments as well as your comments about, what would happen if this went to OLT. I do appreciate what the applicant has also put together. I recognize that putting the semi-detached homes between those and the rest of the residents is a means of trying to respect that type of separation, and I definitely appreciate that. And yes, I do have to agree it would be difficult to turn this down as much as I would certainly like to do that. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tree, you're next on the list.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to our applicants, also the residents as well. Pay attention to the details of this proposal. The proposal is 3 floors, I remember correctly, and seats correctly. So the entire community, even you mentioned the east side and west side, we do have high density townhouse there, but they are all two levels. So this might be dramatically change the appearance of our street. Next, second thing I want to mention here is the parking lot. As I read this plan correctly, they only have 2 parking lots. Imagine you have 17 families living there on the street. We only have 4 parking lots. In case of any friends visiting, right? The four parking lot definitely is not enough. My concerns here is if during holiday or other seasons or other events, and the visitors maybe park the car on the street. And remember, the code break is connected to our regional street with Gamble. It might lead to really the big problems on the street and might impact other neighbors who's living on the street, more cars parking on the street, right? Especially in winter as well. So this, I think this part we need to consider that might be a problem in future as a long term. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, so we have a motion before us. First, moved and seconded, Councillor DePaulo and Councillor Silovitz. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries only. Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda here is agenda item 14.1, member motion from Regional Local Councillor Chan about a service charter. So, Councillor Chan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Today, we just, this morning marks the milestone of Richmond Hill 150 years young since the day of being incorporated as a village. And a mission of the city of Richmond Hill now is committed to providing exceptional services to our community as the mission. And I think as council, we collectively set directions in terms of guiding our services delivery. And a service charter is not something new. It's actually a number of places in Canada, internationally, have document in a written form, which actually reflects the value that of the corporation, in this case, Richmond Hill, in our case, committed to deliver exceptional public services. So service charters, basically in this case, in my members' motion, is to provide a written commitment that delivers services in an accountable, open, and transparent manner. And it also helps to set up clear expectations of service standards. In fact, in today's world, as well as getting into more digitized services, electronic services, I would say more than ever, it needs to have something in writing that to really make it in a very unambiguous terms of the expectation of actually both from the user standpoint, what the how they will be treated, how the service standards may be. At the same time, that for our staff would also have the opportunity through a written document to expect that the users, how they would be conduct themselves in terms of receiving services from us. And I think it's important that we do have this particular written document to promote and the principles in this case of equitable and inclusive services to serve our diverse population. And I would like to say also that actually helps what the corporation is already doing. As a city, we will be engaging in further update the strategic planning. We'll be doing a number of plans so that the service charter itself is not a standalone document to be developed, but actually to be developed in alignment with all these processes the city is moving. And as well, we already have in the office of the city manager and a particular specialized person to help drive transformation. So all these are all fit together. In fact, this is, I seeing an opportunity for us to affirm our corporation, our city's value in terms of servicing, and also make it really clearly understood between the users as well as for our staff for service delivery. So I am seeking that my solid support in the end to have staff directed to look at the best practices in delivering services that promote customer satisfaction. We've been doing fine, but there's always room for improvement, particularly on the operational efficiency, and report back an appropriate time. And again, it fits into the whole spectrum of things, all those activities the city is doing, strategic planning process, operational transformation, and as well, also exciting that doing the developing a diversity, inclusion, equity strategy this year with the draft charter, a service charter of consideration. So I would respectfully ask my colleagues' support. And I think this is certainly setting another milestone, showing leadership that in our, at least local government level, like for the federal level, a number of places already have service charter established. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to move the motion as have been submitted and also be published as a member motion to seek a service charter at an appropriate time to come back to council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a seconder for that lined up, Councillor Davidson?
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. I think that a staff report on a service charter would be a great way for staff to let their managers and let us know what's working, for managers to find out what might be improved. I think overall, the thought of creating this, the process, I hope, will ignite a two-way conversation or more of people expressing how they feel about the service we provide to residents. And if staff indicates, do they have the tools to do their job the way they want to clarify what the role is. So this in no way is a comment on the service that we're providing now, but I think it opens an opportunity for staff, managers, all levels to really clarify what our goals are and are there ways to improve how we get there? Are we already getting there? So I do support this motion, and I think residents expect us to review our practices over time in different times, and this is an opportunity to do that. So I will support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion before us. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. All right, so we've got the next item is 14.2, member motion from Councillor Silovitz about the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Over to you, Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This member motion has been distributed to members of council, and I'm fully in support of us doing this. Councillor Chan has been our representative at FCM, the Federal
Federation.
Thank you, of municipalities, which is Canada wide, and he has done a absolutely exceptional job. And I, for one, am extremely proud that he is the one that represents not only council, but the city of Richmond Hill at FCM. So we've done this in the past, and I believe that this should continue. So I look for a second, and I hope for council's unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Tree. Okay, all those in favor? Actually, sorry, is there anybody else that wants to comment on that? Oh, sorry, Councillor Chan, go ahead.
Just our abundance of caution, and subject to Advisor Kirk, whether in fact I need to actually declare potential conflict interest. I mean, just want to be absolutely sure Through you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Through the mayor, regrettably, of course, I cannot provide advice to members of council when you have a pecuniary interest. That is a personal thing. That is a personal obligation. So it's up to the member of council to determine if they have a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in the matter.
Thank you. And it's certainly, I see that as an opportunity. Should my colleagues support me, this is part of the public service I'm offering. It's certainly not something to be benefit or profit in a personal way in any manner. So, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you so much. And the last item on this part of the agenda is member motion from Councillor Liu, renaming of Bayview Hill Community Center Renaissance Room to Mulraj Sethi Room. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it very short. It's very self-explanatory. We have lots of good public members in our community, and I think this is a good way to recognize their contribution to our community. And Mulraj Sethi, I believe most of the people here know who he is, and he is the president of the York Region Indian Senior Clubs, and he is very, very involved in lots of community works and lots of awards, as you can see in my motion. And Raj is just celebrate his 90th birthday, and I think, you know, if we are going to do this thing, we do it before better than after. So I would like to table this motion to rename the Renaissance Room, and I understand that there is a process to do that, and all I'm asking is staff to initiate that process. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff, maybe you can help, staff can help members of council understand what's the process is about and how long is this going to take, so that we have mutual understanding on what we are doing here. Through Mr. Mayor, just that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we do have a park and recreation facility naming policy that we will be following. It involves putting this the proposed name out to public consultation. That usually takes 30 days, and then we would report back to council to finalize the name or recommend it or not, according to the public consultation. I would note that in the case of naming a facility after someone in particular person, council does have the ability to waive that public consultation process if you want.
Thank you. I rather we go through the process. It's only 30 days to give everybody a peace of mind. And just a minor change in the motion, because after I talked to staff and I reach out to Mr. Sethi, instead of Mulraj Sethi Room, he would just like Raj Sethi. You can take away the Mul. So it is going to be the Raj Sethi Room. And I understand that staff has done a background check of the room. The Renaissance Room is renameable. Let's put it this way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so seconder, Councillor Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank you, Councillor New, as the local councillor representing where Raj Sethi lives. So I understand where he's coming from. And many of us who have been serving in the community or been active in the community may have opportunity to come to know Raj. As somebody who's just only 90 years young, but is amazingly with boundless energy. If you have a chance to meet with him, then he has been very active for a very long time. And I think there is a recognition of a very active community volunteer in this regard. If there is opportunity to honor such a person, I believe he has already received Richmond Hill Volunteer Award, and also some other awards as the mover was talking about. I take comfort in particular. We are not doing anything that in a particular special treatment way. And that's why I think it's very important, and I concur with the mover, go through the process as it is to ensure we are accountable, everything done is open, and at the end of the day is also transparent. So if any person, entity would have any particular comment to make, there will be such an opportunity. So based on the principle of openness, transparency, as well as being reflective of our approach under the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy to be developed, I'm happy to second this motion so that staff could take a look and look at the process and come back to council, then we will make the decision then. So on that note, I am seconding the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor DiPaolo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just looking to second also. I fully support the motion. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, so at this point, we need to motion to move into closed session. Mr. Clerk, do you want to add any detail to that? It's necessary?
No, thank you. But if you allow me to put the draft motion on the screen just for accountability, transparency reasons.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to move by Councillor Chan. Are you still okay with that, Councillor? And seconded by Councillor DiPaolo. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll be moving into closed session and we'll be coming out shortly.